So most people that know you, man, know you got a big fight coming up on April 23rd, which we'll dive into a bit later. But before we do, man, we're intrigued to hear your story, how it began, where your journey began, because it wasn't always in boxing, was it?
No, definitely not. Geez, my story. So I'm just a kid from Caboolture. I was a big footy head, so I played footy, and that was my dream, was to be in the NRL playing footy. So I loved footy. And then my dad was a professional boxer, and he passed away to pancreas cancer when I was 13 years old. And I had a relationship with my dad. He wasn't with mum at the time, so we'd go visit dad every second weekend. And I got a twin brother who was touted as, the boxer coming through the family, and an older brother as well. And I just loved my footy, and I was a mum's boy. And when dad had passed away, I've become a bit more of a man, 18, 19, and wanted to sort of connect with dad and, do something he had done. And I figured I loved the UFC at the time. I used to, watch on Field TV, the Ultimate Fighter House, the 2 episodes on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock. So I thought, I'll do something in relation to like combat sports. So I thought MMA. I went down to an MMA gym and, I fell in love with it. So I never left. I got my ass handed to me the first couple of sessions and just kept going back and going back. Had some mentors throughout the process, some good ones. And then I finally found Adrian Pang at Integrated MMA, and that's where it really took off. I become a professional and went on a bit of a tear here in Australia, becoming 9-0 in Australian MMA with 3 Australian titles. Got the fight in China. I've cornered people in the UFC in New Zealand. Wow. Trained alongside some of the best guys in Australia, Damian Brown. I fought Jamie Malarkey, who just fought on the weekend and got his first win in the UFC. And
man.
And then what happened? I was right on the cusp of signing with the UFC. I had Alex Volkanovski. His name's Reece Delchin. He was in the gym. He flew in from Sydney and wanted to meet with us, and he had to sit down. I had a scheduled fight against one of the boys from City Kickboxing. Can't remember his name.
Yeah.
And I was just I was an XFC title defense, and I was, I needed to win that fight, obviously, and MMA is MMA, anything can happen. But I was pretty comfortable with winning that fight. And then he said, "Mate, don't talk to anyone. I'll sign you to the UFC. I'll get you in." And I was 2 weeks out from that fight, and I went and played touch footy and blew out my ACL.
No, you're kidding.
Yeah. So my whole world come crashing down on me. I was 21 years old, and just thought that was the end. And I had to do my rehab. It cost me $12,000. I wanted to get it done straight away. I got the surgery done a week and a half after I'd done it. And I got straight back on the horse and did all my physio very diligently. And still the plan in recovery was to come back and be in the UFC, because I was right there. He told me I was getting, Sean Shelby was messaging Adrian Pang saying, "Is Issac ready? When's Issac good to go?" And this was while I was recovering. So they knew exactly who I was. And so I'd done my recovery, and I just wanted to get it back out in front of a crowd, blow the cobwebs out. Then, I have a MMA fight and signed to the UFC. So, in the midst of my MMA career, I had 2 professional boxing fights on, first one was on 3 days notice. I was moving houses, and my old girlfriend, she wanted the Dyson vacuum cleaner. I wanted it, so I gave it to her. And I had to go down and fight, and I was going to get a Dyson vacuum cleaner with my purse money. So that was the whole idea of the fight. And I happened to win that in the first round, first minute, by knockout. And then same thing with the second fight as well. They flew me in on 4 days notice, and I knocked him out at light heavyweight as well. So at this time, I was actively competing in MMA at 70 kilos. I was taking these fights at 80 kilos in boxing, so light heavyweight 79.8. So wasn't cutting any weight, just going in there for really essentially a paycheck, and I didn't really care if I won or lost. But moving forward to the injury and coming back, I still didn't really know. I wasn't even a fan of boxing. Dad was a boxer, but the only people I really knew were the names in boxing, Floyd Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez. I wasn't even keen on the Jeff Horn fight and Pacquiao here in Brisbane when that was on. So I signed this fight, and I fought on the undercard Paul Gallen, John Hopewadi. And again, it was just to get out in front of a good crowd, get the nerves out after 9 months layoff with my knee, and then go back into MMA. And I fought well. I knocked out another highly touted amateur and someone that was, doing really well in his sparring, and I wasn't meant to win again. And I performed really well, and the manager at the time, Dean Longening, flew in because he was trying to sign Tszyu to a promotional contract and whatnot. And I caught his eye, and he reached out, and we had some meetings back and forth, and he presented a contract that I couldn't say no to, for the money and the platform he was giving me, compared to what I was getting. Even, the line he put on me, to get me over the edge. He's like, mate, if you want to make 50,000, 100,000, go fight the UFC. If you want to make millions, sign a deal with me and be a boxer. And I said, fuck, how can you not? And for me, it's doing something I love, which is competing in a sport that, the 1 percentile of the population does. Not many people do this sport, and I want to do it at the best of my ability. And I just get out there and do something not everyone does, and that's fighting. So whether it be MMA, I've kickboxed as well. I fought in Thailand, Muay Thai, boxing, MMA. It's just that ultimate test, and that's what I like to do. And then if it makes money, it makes sense, right? So I'm not going to do something for pennies. This is a fucking hard sport, and I've seen too many people get burnt, not getting the money they deserve for a sport really that should be paid. You could hit a ball into a little hole in golf and get paid millions, or you get into a ring and box, and it should be the sport that's paid the most. So
couldn't agree more.
That's right. That's why I did it.
So this all happened over a pretty quick period, over a couple year period. Is that so?
Yeah.
Did you always want to? Did you know you always wanted? This is what you wanted, to be a professional athlete, to be competing at the top level. Was it always a dream of yours, or did it just happen that way?
Yeah, no, for sure. I always said, and like my mates from Caboolture back home, growing up, going to school, always say, I always used to say, I'll be a professional fighter. That was the joke at school, in the UFC, or a professional footy player. My plan was to be a professional footy player and make the crossover to MMA. That was my whole idea. But I always wanted to be a professional athlete. I feel like that's what I wanted to do. Nothing else sort of suited me at school. Definitely professional. That's the only sort of avenue I sort of was taking, and that's the way I was setting my schooling up, and the way I envisioned it.
Cool. So is it pretty safe to say if you didn't have that knee injury right now, you'd probably be fighting in the UFC pretty much?
Absolutely, 100%.
Still going with the MMA?
UFC. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's such a cutthroat business, the UFC. Like,
yes.
I'm 9-0 with 7 of those, stoppages, fight punches. So, I was yet to be put on my back and having to be in a real sort of grappling match. So, if I was to get into the UFC and maybe come up against a mad Kazakhstani or a European that out-wrestled me, and me being from Australia, really, and if I lose, bang, I'm just thrown to the back of the line and become essentially like a card filler, which is really shit. And that's what I didn't want to happen. So, but yeah, for sure, if the knee didn't blow out, I would have signed to the UFC and I would have been in the UFC. And I guarantee, I know that within myself. And whether it went good or bad is another question. But it's hard to say. But I definitely would have signed to the UFC for sure.
Cool. So the knee injury was kind of a blessing in disguise. Look at you now, kind of thing. Came into all these massive fights in Australia. 100%. It's going good for you.
Yeah, for sure. It has definitely been a blessing in disguise, and I just feel like it's aligned everything else that's happened in my life. I've built my first home. I proposed to my my missus. So I feel like if I was take the MMA road, maybe all that stuff wouldn't have happened. So the boxing journey has definitely put me on where I am today, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. Is it still a passion of yours though, the MMA? And do you ever see down the line you going back and dabbling in MMA fights again?
Yeah, 100%. One of my main training partners, he works at the gym. Dan Hill just fought for the eternal lightweight title, and I'm still a massive fan of MMA. I still watch the fights, the UFC fights, and for sure, my idea now has changed again. Is like you know, McGregor did the crossover from UFC to boxing. He didn't have the boxing credentials to come over and be successful. Whereas the way I think about it now is I've got the backing in MMA. You know, I'm 9-0, three-time Australian champion. When I go win my Australian title, my world title in boxing, I put my hand up and say, listen, I've got the, you know, the skill set in MMA to come over straight into the UFC and potentially fight for a, you know, UFC title straight off the bat after being a, you know, the way I think about it is, like, imagine if Canelo Alvarez was a, you know, undefeated MMA prospect 5-10 years ago and decided to put his hand up and say, I want to fight in the UFC. They would just make that much money. It would be ridiculous. And the viewers would be crazy. Imagine if Canelo Alvarez could wrestle and grapple and kick and all that stuff. It'd be fucking sick. So that's the way I think about it. Definitely after I, you know, win that world title in boxing and you know, set my family up financially and my the people that have helped me along the way, I need to scratch that itch for sure. And I'm not putting that to bed until I tick that off and say, you know, because I set out that dream when I was, you know, after my dad passed away, 14, 15 years old. I said I'd be in the UFC. So I need to tick that box for sure. Whether it be a successful crossover or a successful journey, no doubt I'll be in the 4 ounces again with the UFC across them.
Awesome. That's cool.
I watched your title defense against Rob Hill the other night, and I don't think many people will argue with you getting a title shot after seeing that, especially with your boxing. As well. That's one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was sweet. That one, it was one of my favorites. I didn't even hit that hard. It was just one of those perfect shots I let go. So yeah, imagine and I feel like boxing is the ace card, you know, the trump card, sorry, that and the good wrestling base, you know, really hurt some MMA guys because that's the whole thing with flying me in on these 3 days notice. These boxing guys, they think MMA guys can't, you know, punch on, and really traditional, like, you know, going back, their hands aren't as sharp as like a traditional boxer, right? So I feel like that is my bread and butter. And then when I square away the wrestling, you know, it's all gravy, baby. I'll go in there and rip people's heads off.
Can't wait to see it, bro.
So how'd you find the actual transition into pro boxing? Was it because your style was pretty, you know, striking heavy. Did you find it pretty smooth transition straight away?
Yeah, for sure. My MMA style is very boxing dominant. It was pretty seamless for me. So even like the work, like the training is nicer, I must admit. The boxing training, you know, there's not as many niggly injuries in training. You know, in MMA, there's so many things you got to cross. You know, grappling and your neck's always kinked, or your elbow's already a little bit sore. You know, stuff like that. Whereas the workload in boxing, it's a lot more trauma through like on the head and stuff like that, because the sparring is the pace is a lot different. And you know, the punches thrown per round in sparring is a lot more to, you know, your MMA rounds at the gym. So, you know, mixing in takedowns and grappling and stuff like that. So the training is a lot nicer. I like the boxing training, and there's not as much super serious conditioning. Like I still lift weights and do my explosive work, but the grill and stuff is, I've found it's a little bit, and still, again, me and my coach are learning on the job as well. So we, you know, try things and see what works for us as well. So, but the crossover is very seamless for me. It was easy.
So you're at Nitro Boxing, right?
Yeah, Nitro Boxing.
So when did you get linked up with them guys? Were you training there in your MMA career as well, or just?
Yeah, definitely. So Blair Studley was like my striking coach through and through from the start. Adrian Pang, they're best mates. So Adrian comes into Nitro for his boxing and striking and does his conditioning, because we've got a full weights gym there. And yeah, I had lost to Jamie Malaki, and I was weak as piss back then. And, you know, I had a body like a girl. My hips wider than my shoulders. And yeah, so Blair said, mate, you need to come in and do some weights if you're super serious about this. And I did, and he gave me a job, and now he quickly become a real strong mentor for me. And now we have like this father-son relationship. So, like I said, my dad had passed away when I was 13, 14. So I didn't have that man in my life that I needed. But he is honestly, I get emotional talking about him because he means so much to me. But yeah, he's the reason I am who I am today, for sure.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing.
I've got a random question just to throw in. Do you still keep up with your roles as well? Do you still do a little bit of MMA training when you're obviously not in camp, when you're out of camp, or you've just kind of put it all aside at the moment?
Nah, put it all aside at the moment. I still was tampering a little bit, but Blair sort of said, mate, that session, even if it's cruising, no purpose to it, it takes away from your boxing. Whereas you could be like having no purpose and cruising on a pad session, which will eventually make you better in boxing, which is what I'm trying to do. So, I used to, train. I do PT, so I'd have people come in and want to learn a little bit here and there. But I've sort of all nipped that in the bud as well. So I put everything into the bag of boxing. So, but definitely, down the track, on the piss, maybe after a fight, I'll show Dan Hill I've still got it too.
Yeah, man. Love that.
Dan Hill is coming for you.
Yeah.
I want to dive into your camps a little bit, man. I'm always intrigued how guys schedule things. So I'm curious, how long roughly do you give yourself for a camp? Sort of 8 weeks?
Yeah, 8 weeks is what we all my like running sessions are scheduled on, my spar and my different phases. My weight phase training is based on like a 10-week program. So that's 4 weeks at the start of heavy stuff, and then we go into different phases, explosive, speed, and then taper off towards the end. But it is generally based 8 to 10 weeks, definitely.
And how do you split that up with your strength and conditioning? How many days a week do you do that? And then how often are you sparring in and also out of camp?
So in camp, like at the start, it's always 3. We got a running session, 3 runs a week, and then that's 2 weight sessions a week, and then there's still boxing every day. So every day, 10 o'clock is some sort of boxing training, whether it be on the pads, bag, or whatever, or skills work. Is my first session, and the second session for those days on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 3 days of the week will be a run, and then second session on the other days will be a strength session, and then a Saturday is sort of like a freestyle session where we'll go maybe run out the trails or something like that. So always 2 sessions a week, and then further out from the camp, it's about 2 sparrings a week, 6 to 8 rounds. And then when we get into the meat of it, which is now, like last week, I sparred 3 times a week, 8 to 10 rounds. And then we start that's the meat of the camp. And then my last hard week of training, we'll sort of pull the rounds back to about 6. So I'm staying sharp, and the weight coming off as well. You don't want to get those injuries coming in towards the fight. So it's always 2 sessions a week, 2 to 3 sparring a week, depending on where we are in the camp, and always those running and conditioning sessions.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so on that, we've seen you done some rounds with Tszyu as well, sparring. What's that experience like going up against someone that high level as well?
Yeah, unreal. And I was a little bit naive when he first come in, because he's a super welterweight and I'm a middleweight, and I'm a big middleweight. And traditionally MMA guys, they cut a fair bit of weight, and I still have that mentality of like, I'm a big middleweight. So I still do a bit of a weight cut. But yeah, so Tszyu, I was thinking I'll be able to, if worse comes to worse and he's toweling me up, I would be able to hold on to him or push him around and be stronger, more physical than him. But that definitely wasn't the case. He's from the get-go, his whole team is so professional, and they're there for they're there for business. They're not being friendly or anything. Not that they're not friendly. They're great guys. The whole camp is very friendly. But like when he walks into the gym, hi, how are you? And he went over into the corner, got his hands wrapped, did a fucking 30-minute warm-up, whereas I touched my toes, went side to side, and I was ready to go, sort of thing. But that's definitely something we learnt, and I take into the approach of sparring now, is how professional Tim is. He's there for business, and it's a purpose. Yeah, for sure. And he's not fucking around when he's in there. And he really didn't fuck around the first time we sparred. We did 10 rounds. So we did about 40 rounds together. And that was my first time experiencing 30-second rests in between rounds, whereas at the gym at Nitro, we have a 45-second timer in between rests. And previously to that, we used to go to, I've been done rounds with Jeff Horn and Dennis Hogan. They have minute rests. So we thought we had a leg up on the competition doing 45-second rest. And I remember leaning over the rope saying to Eagle, Tim's coach, said, you want 45 seconds or a minute rest? And he screamed at me. He said, 30 seconds, always 30 seconds. I said, oh, fuck, all right. Change the timer, 30-second rest, and it really buckled me. He gave it to me that first 10 rounds. But then he come back and it got better and better. So as I settled in and started listening to what I needed to do and adjusting, it got very competitive towards the end. And he was traveling from the Gold Coast to Brisbane, to come do the round. So that speaks in itself.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Really interesting and some good insight that people can get a lot out of the business approach and the hard work towards it. That's sick.
Yeah, for sure.
What did you think of his performance on Wednesday night against Dennis Hogan?
Unreal. When he was scheduled to fight Jeff, we had a few people in the gym saying it would be too much, and I firsthand have been in the ring with that guy, and he is something else. I'm bigger than him, but he doesn't miss. He's so fit, and like the constant pressure, the way he fought is the way he spars, and like I just couldn't see him losing to Jeff or Dennis. I said that he'll beat Dennis in 6 rounds. I thought he's just going to be too big, too strong, and he was. He was clinical. I think to start with, he looked like he was trying to brain Dennis, like get him out of there early, and he was swinging him a little bit too hard. I think it looked a little bit scrappy, but when he settled in, got on to his straight punches again, hitting the body, he settled in and dismantled him. But to start with, it looked like he was, when you try and throw a punch really hard, you seem to miss a little bit, little bit, and you just let them go. They're the ones that sort of come off. So when he settled in, and he even said that, he was a little bit scrappy to start with. But when he settled in, he really settled in and found his mark.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
You mentioned Tim's fight with Jeff Horn there. You fought on the co-main event of that. Was that right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was co-main against Jamie Weech.
Yep. Would you say that? Would you say that's the biggest moment of your boxing career so far? Does that stand out above the rest?
Yeah, for sure. Being the co-main to Tszyu, Jeff Horn, that was cool. And my fiance, she's from Townsville, so it's like a second home. So we had a lot of support up there. And walking out to, I think there was like 15,000 people in that stadium. It was just something else. I fought in front of, I fought at Bendigo Stadium on the Horn Zarafa, the first one, and I think that was like 4,000. Gallon Hopewadi was about 4,000, and they were cool crowds. But walking out that runway to the Townsville Stadium was something else. And the way I beat that guy was, the cherry on top. He was formerly ranked in the top 15 of the world with the IBF. And again, people kept telling me it'd be too much. It's too soon for me. Triple my experience, and he's a veteran, and he'd be able to show that against someone that I've never had an amateur boxing fight either. So I'm 8 fights in, and that's the only boxing I've done. I had a one night tough man competition where I fought 3 people in one night and won that. But other than that, I've had no boxing experience, and all these people kept telling me it'd be too much, and I knocked him out in the first round. So, which is good.
That's mad. Yeah. How long do you reckon until we see you headlining some of these big events in Australia?
A year from now, I guarantee it. A year from now is what's in my sight. So when I get to 10-0, 11-0, that's a little bit more acceptable to be on Foxtel with a headline. I feel like I could headline now, with potential like a good opponent like a Zarafa, or there's Eman Carlos in Melbourne, and Eman's 12-1. Zarafa, he's had plenty of fights, but I feel like if I got it's the dancing partner too, you got to have to creates noise and gets you that headline position. But I feel like I've got enough support and enough eyes that want to watch me win or lose, for that fact, to be a headline act. And maybe not, definitely not. I feel like I'm not a pay-per-view star yet, for sure. No one's buying a Hardman pay-per-view yet, but MBS thing on again has not yet anyway, but MBS has like free to Foxtel cards, on the Saturday night or Friday night, and I feel like I could headline them. So definitely, for sure. But in a year, I'll be a pay-per-view star. I'm telling you.
It's awesome. So you mentioned a little there ago, Dean Longening. So is he the one that runs NBS? Was it? And I'm curious about that whole situation. How much does he help your career in getting these big fights?
Yeah, he's a man that got Pacquiao over here for the Horn fight. He promoted that fight. He helped promote Parker to the AJ fight. He's been in the business a long time. So he's got all the money. So he puts all the big shows on. And I know that. But he's a promoter too. So I have a good relationship with Dean. He's a great fella. We have a very transparent relationship, and he doesn't fluff me around. I don't fluff him around. But he's a man I need to be with, and I understand that to get me these fights, because right now fighting me is, just say Zarafa. You know, it's a hard fight for him. Me being 8-0, him being where he is, he's in the top 10 in the world. But I feel like I'd beat Zarafa. But in saying that, like, he's gonna want a fuckload of money to fight me, or put all that risk on the line to fight me. And Dean's a guy in Australian boxing, to be able to pay that amount of money to get these guys. And even though, you know, the opponents I get, they get paid double what I do because of the risk. And, you know, that's what gets them over the line to fight me. You know, 10 grand here, I actually give him 15. That'll entice him to take the fight a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if
absolutely,
I'm with someone else and they get, like, it's a risky fight, 5-6 grand, no fucking way. All right, double it, give him 15. All right, yeah, I'll take the fight.
Yeah, high risk, low reward in a sense,
because they're going to put on a highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly. So for now, but another 3 fights, I'll probably have the people chasing me. You know, the younger guys coming up wanting that fight with me, and then again, the roles are reversed. Do I want to fight someone that's 5-0 for not much reward? Or that's where I'll be on to chasing those top 10 guys in the world for world titles. So there's always, that's what I said, there's always bigger fish to fry. Like, Zarafa's trying to get the Tszyu fight. I want to get the Zarafa fight, you know. So and Tszyu's trying to get the world title fight with Castana. So there's always bigger fish to fry. So, you know, is what it is. That's the game we're in.
For sure. Yeah, so we'll move on to April 23rd then. You're fighting Mark Lucas. When did you get approached with that fight, and what do you think of the matchup initially?
I was trying to get Emmanuel Carlos to fight, but he got tied up with Kings of Combat. And then the day he told me he can't make it, Mark Lucas direct messaged me and said, "Oh, look, I want to come back for a fight. I want to fight the best in the division. If you're willing, I'm more than happy to do it." And I just said, "Fuck, you're a legend, mate. Let's do it." So it was pretty easy, really. As the way it should be. 2 men in a sport where you fight each other, want to fight. Why can't I said to my promoter then, I said, "If you can't make this fight happen, I'll quit and go fight in MMA because I know I'll get a fight there." So they made it happen, which is, you know, if it couldn't happen, it's just something's going wrong behind the scenes. So, but it happened, and I was initially, like I said, a year ago, I put up a story and I only just got the arc, like, you know, the memory. I was just outside the top 10 in the middleweight division. I said, there's one fight in here that's a hard fight, but I'd still steamroll him. And I was talking about Mark Lucas. So, you know, that's funny to me because that was a year ago. And I said he was probably the only challenging fight because he's long, he's a good boxer. I still said a year ago I'd steamroll him. Now I got the chance to do it, so which is what I'm going to do.
That's awesome. On that, how do you see the fight playing out?
Yeah, predictions.
3 rounds, I'm going to knock him out and finally put him into retirement because I know he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and he's a hard worker, and which I like. And there's no bullshit about Mark Lucas, but he's very sporadic with his fights. He'll fight 2 and then have a layoff, and, you know, maybe the desire's not there, or I don't know, but he's had a while off since his last fight against Reynold Quinlan, and I think he just wants to go out against a good guy and go out on a high, which he's not going to get that against me. He's going to go out on his back. That's just the way it is. So it's going to be a good fight. It's going to be competitive, but I'm going to put him to bed in 3.
Man, awesome. So I know you're not looking past Mark Lucas, but do you have any big plans for 2021? What's your plans? You mentioned Michael Zarafa there. Is that what you want next? Does that interest you?
Yeah, definitely that interests me, but I don't think it interests him as much. You know, he's probably I don't doubt he's, you know, talking to the big dogs of the division. You know, he's top 10 in the world in some of the sanctioning bodies. So that could be a little bit far-fetched, but I still, like I said, I feel like I beat Michael Zarafa. He's not a middleweight. And if he keeps saying he's a middleweight, he needs a fight at true middleweight. Otherwise, take it out of your Instagram bio and call yourself a super welterweight. But even like, you know, Dennis Hogan just lost. You know, he's 35. If he wants to stay relevant in the sport, he can. I've hassled him a little bit online. I don't mind hassling people online. If he wants to stay relevant, he can come try to shut me up. You know, there's a few fights. Emmanuel Carlos is a great fella. He's 12-1. I know he's got a fight May 1st. That's an interesting fight as well, and it's it's not far-fetched at all, as long as there's not too much, you know, behind the scenes going or holding people back from, because it's not on a certain promotion or whatever. But yeah, there's some interesting fights. I'd still love to smash Joel Camilleri's head in as well. But again, he's a super welterweight, but he's toyed with the idea of middleweight. But if he ever wants to grow a set, he can get it as well. But
you heard it.
I'm getting a little bit nervous here. All these boys are Maltese. We are too. Camilleri's a rapper. They're all Maltese boys. We're going to be next.
I was know how to do it. Don't worry, bro. We got it.
No.
Yeah, I don't think he'll want it either. Yeah, there's and the current climate over in the States, it's a bit rough over there, so I don't see us getting over there. There's potentially, you know, the chance, you know, Tszyu might have a big world title here. He might be able to bring someone over here with the money they got. So on an undercard over there, and maybe bring one of the, say Castana is in a camp and there might be a middleweight in his camp. Bring him over, like a Mexican middleweight or an Argentinian or an American or something like that. You know, there's always that as well. So, but for now here in Australia, I think there's Emmanuel, Zarafa, maybe Hogan if he wants to actually retire. I'll put that on him as well. Camilleri if he wants to get belted, but other than that, there's no one really.
There you go. So we'll shoot even further in the future. 5 years time. Where is Issac Hardman?
World champion. World champion. A big house in Tenerife, overlooking the water, Brisbane River. My coach's house paid off. My mum's house paid off. Probably another dog.
What dog you got?
I got a spoodle here. His name's Lomachenko.
Loma. Love that.
That's my beautiful fiance there. So
there we go.
But yeah, 5 years. 5 years is just enjoying the fruits of my hard labor. Like, and in saying that, I've been in it. I went professional MMA when I was in 2015. So that's going on 6 years. Not that it's been like a 10-year journey or anything, but 6 years in this sport is fucking long time. It's a hustle. So in 5 years I'll be in it. 10 years I'll be going on 30, still hitting my straps. That's the scary thing, 30 physically in boxing is like, 30 to 33 is the age where you really hit your straps. I feel like 29 to 32, I reckon. You got a good head on your shoulders, you know what works for you. But in 5 years, I'll be a world champion, and I have plenty of moolah in the back pocket. Partner will be looked after. Dog will be looked after. Everyone that's ever helped me along the way will be looked after, and we'll just be enjoying the good life.
Love that.
Awesome, mate. Sick. So we'll move away from fighting to finish off. What else do you like to do outside of boxing and training? Something you're watching, games you're playing, books?
No, I try and read here and there. My fiance, she's an ICU nurse. She's really smart. She tries to get me to read and stuff like that, but that doesn't last long. But I do like rollerblading with the dog. I rollerblade with the dog. And just hanging out with Javille as well is just, my downtime when I'm away from the sport or, on the Saturday and Sundays. I don't want to have to talk about it. I still love, I'm always on my phone looking at something, but I really just want to enjoy the time with my fiance, really, because she's a backbone, and appreciate her. And because I put so much time into training and stuff like that, I'm in the gym sweating and stinking. I just want to enjoy being normal for a day until I have to go back being not normal, sort of thing. So I don't really do. I'm pretty simple. I don't really do too much. I love a good coffee and love a good walk.
Yeah. Love that.
Love it, man. Love it, man. So we're going to finish off with a quick few questions we always sort of finish the podcast with. So first, we'll hit your dream opponent, any era, any time.
If you could face anyone.
Canelo Alvarez. For sure.
Man.
Yeah, because he's the cream of the crop. Like, I feel like the guys back in the day, they're tough as fuck, but they don't have the skills people have these days. And Canelo's got it all, so he's dream opponent.
That's awesome.
3 people you'd have dinner with, dead or alive.
Mike Tyson. Fuck, who would I have? Oh, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a genius, and that's because of my partner as well. If there's 3 people, I've got to invite him. Who else? My dad. Now that I'm a man.
That's awesome,
man.
I
love that.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite artist or musician, band, anything like that?
Oh, favorite artist. What do I like listening to? I'm a little bit of everything. Right now, what am I listening to? Billie Eilish.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Billie Eilish.
Left
Ocean
field.
Eyes.
Is that a walkout
Yeah,
song?
for sure. Possibly.
Ah. Inside scoop.
All right, last one, man. If you're on death row, what would your last meal be?
Oh, death row, babe. Last meal. What's it gonna be? Probably her or her roast pork with mushroom gravy. Fuck yeah.
Love that.
Cooked by Javille. That's it. No one else.
Yeah, I love that.
There you
That's
go.
awesome.
There you go. Nah, that's all we got for you today, man. We really appreciate you doing this. Hey, this was fucking awesome
Pleasure.
chat.
I just want to add in as well.
Pleasure.
We've only known you for an hour now, but you seem like an absolute legend. Your dad would be really proud of you. So keep it up, man. You're a fucking legend.
Man.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That's brings a tear to my eye. Thank you.
Of course,
You're a
man.
legend,
Before you go though, did you want to shout out anyone, coaches, sponsors, anything?
Yeah,
like
just
that?
my partner Javille. Like I said, she's the backbone. My coach Blair Studley, Nitro Boxing, all the boys there, and all my sponsors as well. They're all incredible. A lot of moving parts to the team now, and this is only my third fight being backed financially by some people that are seeing all the hard work pay off. So I really appreciate my whole team. It's I got the best team around, second to none.
Awesome, mate. And where can people find you, bro? What's your socials? Just on Instagram?
Yeah, just Instagram, Hardman Boxer, and Facebook, athlete page is Issac Headsplitter Hardman. So I'm happy to talk to anyone. Say hello. If you're in Brisbane too, you see me walking, I'm always down here by the river. Say hello, get a picture.
Love that.
Awesome,
That's
mate.
awesome.
So thank you very much for this, man. We really appreciate your time and we've really enjoyed this chat.
Yeah, you're a legend.
Yeah, thanks, man.